and welcome to the 7th episode of the Hughes Musings podcast. My name is John, and there is no Carol. She, unfortunately, is not around today because she's not feeling very well at all, unfortunately. So, as I said, my name is John. I am one half of the Hugheses, and this is the Hughes Musings podcast. So we're going to carry on. It might be a slightly shorter episode because, as I said, Carol unfortunately is not feeling very well. She's been struggling with her voice all week, and I'm not feeling particularly well either. I've been struggling with my sinuses and my hearing all week, so we are most certainly crocked on this 7th week of the Hughes Musings podcast. So this is a day late as well. We're struggling to get this out, so I do apologise. But because of that, I kind of got us inspired for our subject this week. So we'll get into that. But just to let you know what I've been doing this week. So this week, again, has been a very busy week in work. I have also, we had a volunteer day in work where we went down and we painted some of the rooms in a local homeless shelter, which was really good. It was really nice. It was really fun to bond with my team and work. We really had a nice time helping people out as well. It was great to get some grafting and painting done, and I think that's maybe inspired me to do maybe a bit of decorating in the flat at the end of this month, but don't tell Carol because it's a secret until she listens to this episode. And yeah, it was just really, really, really nice to do. But it certainly sort of put things into perspective. We were talking to one of the leaders there, and they pointed out that, you know, the people in that homeless shelter, there's a lot of stigma around why they're there and who they are and why they need to be there, and when you see people in the street and stuff. But we got chatting to them, and they're just a really nice bunch of guys. And as the leader lady pointed out, we're all only one paycheck away from being in the same situation, potentially. A lot of us, if you think about your rent payments, your mortgage payments, your council tax bills, and your utilities and things like that, and you think, okay, well, I'm in a stable job and I pay all my bills. Potentially, we're all not that far from being in the situation we're in. Hopefully, we're all lucky enough to have a nice warm roof over our heads. To being in that sort of situation where you need help from the local community. And I was also told as well that it's not guaranteed every year, which I think is really, really bad. I think with something that's so important for those people, because if they didn't have that shelter, they'd be sleeping in the street. Literally, they are homeless people. And for not to have that unit guaranteed every year, always depends on budget. I get that the local community money needs to be allocated, but surely they should be able to at least guarantee if it's going to be there or not. I think would be important. But I mean, we try not to get too political here on the Hughes Musings podcast. But it does seem bad that they can't at least guarantee that they can fund it enough to keep it going. Whether it's got everything it needs that year, whether it's able to fund extra things, fair enough. You know, you might not be able to guarantee that, but at least to be able to guarantee that that's going to be there. You know, there's going to be a roof and a door open and a bed to sleep in for that certain amount of people, at least, because I saw a stat the other day that homelessness has gone up by 165% in this particular government's time in office. And isn't it more important now to make sure that we can do things in that community? So I went and did some charity work. It's really inspired me to hopefully maybe go and do a bit more, I think. I think I might look into more volunteering opportunities and see what I can do to help out. And if you've got the time and if you've got the privilege to be able to have a bit of spare time in your life, have a look into it because it was amazingly rewarding. So go and check that out. Just go and see what you can do in the community because certainly hit home with me this week. Oh, yeah. So that's basically what I've been up to this week, guys. So as I said, we are a bit shorter this week. We're going to go straight into our topic this week, and it's inspired by the way we feel. We were going to go into siblings, but we're going to leave that for another week until we're back together and we can talk through everything properly as a team. Go Team Hughes. So I'm going to talk about it myself, and this week's What's a Moozin' is all about being down with the sickness. It's horrible. As a couple, we've slept in separate beds this week. It's been really difficult. It's felt a lot like coexisting rather than being a married couple and living together. We've been cohabitating. So that's not been great. What I did was start a little conversation because when you feel like this, you need comfort. Comfort can come from food. It can come from being around certain people. I think that's always important. But for me personally, and I'm pretty sure it shows from everything I talk about every week, the TV and film and theatre and music is definitely my go-to when it comes to feelings. When I need to feel something, I go to a great story of some nature, and I go to somebody else's art to get that. And because of that, I put it out there into the ether, into the world of the social media, and I asked everybody, what is your go-to comfort when you're not feeling well? What makes you feel better? What is it? When you're stuck in a house all day and you're aching and you feel fluey and horrible and you're stuck on the sofa in a duvet, what makes you feel better? What gets you away from that horrible feeling of sickness? Me personally, I often watch comedy films. Generally, I'd say something a bit inane, like the old Adam Sandler films like Waterboy or Happy Gilmore, Little Nicky to a certain extent. I really love Big Daddy as well. That's a great film. Or like comedy shows, but things that I can watch over and over again, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Big Bang Theory, Friends, Parks and Recreation, things like that. Things that I can just put on. I know the stories too because I've watched them plenty of times already, and just relax and just watch them. I watch a lot of Impractical Jokers as well because it's always on in the daytime. You can put it on in Comedy Central. You don't need to go looking for it. It's always pretty much there, and that's always good to watch as well because it's background watching. I like to have lots of distractions when I'm not feeling well. But we've had some great answers. Some of them I find really amusing because of the answers, and then some of them I've just found amazing because of the reasons behind the answers as well, like sort of a little tag of why that is. So one of those in particular, which I thought really made sense to me in a way, and it's a proper sick day. It would be a full sick day to watch them all. But my old friend from college, Gwyn Thomas, if you're listening, Gwyn, cheers for writing in, mate. He said that he watches the Lord of the Rings trilogy because when he starts it, you start feeling down, and at the end of the films, you feel like you can take on the world, which I guess if you're not feeling particularly well that day, that's it, isn't it? That's exactly what you want. You want something to entertain you and inspire you into feeling better. And as we're saying as well, if you're really not feeling well, if you're sick and you feel gross and you just don't want to get up off that sofa and you've got enough people to like give you soup and toast and make you feel good, then watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy because it's really long and it's great. They are amazing films. I'm not sure how people feel about The Hobbit. I personally quite like The Hobbit. But I think I'm probably in the minority there rather than in the majority. So we had lots of answers from some of our female demographic, which I really appreciated as well. There's a lot of Gilmore Girls going on there. There's quite a few there that have said Gilmore Girls, and I appreciate that, ladies. I really do. It's one of those programs I can't say that I've ever watched more than maybe about 10 minutes of, but I know how popular it is. There was a few answers for Grey's Anatomy as well, which I completely understand as well. Bit of Grey's TV, exactly like I watch my comedy shows for. You don't have to concentrate with Grey's. It's relatively inspiring towards the end usually. There's a bit of a dramatic twist, and it's pretty trashy, so you don't have to concentrate that much, which is perfect sickness TV, I think. And then there's some classic films in there from the ladies as well. Exactly what you'd expect. Things like The Holiday, which I've got to be honest, I love that film. It's really good. And Carol didn't even make me watch that. That's something I watched on my own long before we even met. And it wasn't a girl that made me watch it. I just really like the people in it. And I love that film. It's really, really good. So we also had the film Bewitched, which I'm guessing is the modern version. Because didn't they had the old TV show, didn't they, in the 70s, I think it was? And then they made a film from that TV show, didn't they? And then they had the Bewitched film, came out in the late 90s, noughties, without doing my research. If I'm wrong about all of that, feel free to write in, Christine, and tell me that I'm an idiot who doesn't know what they're talking about, because I don't know much about Bewitched, apart from it's all about magic. Beetlejuice as well. We had a couple of slightly more horror-based feel-good films. Beetlejuice was one of them, and I love that film because Michael Keaton is phenomenal in everything he does. He's just amazing. So really appreciate that answer. And the other one, I'm pretty sure I knew it was coming because my friend Vicky talks about this film all the time, but she loves The Lost Boys, and I totally get why, because it is a classic. It's a proper vampire film, not like that twinkly Twilight shit or any of that True Blood guff. And you can shout at me if you want, I don't care. It's all crap. That's a proper vampire film with attractive men in it. the you know, go and hunt women. I was listening to this thing about the law, not the allure, but the law of vampire films and how, and the reason that they are so popular with the female of the species, and it's really quite interesting. It's about the charisma. It's the fact that they look like they look human. They can live forever. They have the eternal youth as well. And there's something to do with the euphemism and the symbolism of the fangs that penetrate the neck as well. I thought it was really interesting. It was really quite cool. So that's why you're apparently according to Literacist, love vampires, ladies. It's because they want to bite you. One of the others that I want to talk about in particular is our lovely podcast friend, Sophie Powell, who wrote into us saying that she loves to watch Harry Potter when she's not feeling well. I knew she was a massive Harry Potter fan anyway, because she's got the old Deathly Hallows tattoo on her foot. So I knew she was a huge fan, and it makes total sense, and I have to agree as well. I love watching Harry Potter when I'm not feeling good. And it's one of those things like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm quite surprised that nobody's written about the Star Wars trilogy as well. The trilogy, not the remake ones. Not even the new ones, really. When I'm not feeling well, I want to watch classic Star Wars, like 70s Star Wars. But Harry Potter is just brilliant. You kind of lose yourself in this wonderful, magical world, and it's completely throwbackish. It just takes you back to your childhood of reading the books, watching the films, feeling like you could be magical yourself. It's just the best. It makes you feel good when you're not feeling well. So thank you very much, Sophie, for that right in there. I completely, totally, and wholeheartedly agree with you that Harry Potter is a fantastic watch when you're not feeling well. And then from some of the men folk. So just because we were going to talk about siblings this week, I'm going to talk about my biggest little brother Gaz. He's old as shit and he's about 5'2". So he's like my own personal Yoda. And he wrote in. So Cinderella Man, and if I think most people would know what Cinderella Man is, but that's the one where Russell Crowe plays a boxer called James J. Braddock. And before I watched Cinderella Man, I didn't know a lot about the James J. Braddock story, but since then I do know quite a lot because I'm quite a big fan of the film and therefore the human being afterwards. And it's quite an inspiring story of during the Depression, he was down and out, broke his hand, couldn't box properly, boxed with injuries for years because he could never take the time to recover, and lost his license because of that because he couldn't box properly anymore, and went to the docks, with a broken hand, had to use his left hand to work, developed the meanest, weaker hand in boxing, and came back and just destroyed people he had no right to even be in the ring with, and boxed his way to a championship fight against a big boxer called Max Baer, who had a reputation for being a killer boxer. And so it's amazing. It's an incredible story. It's an incredible true story. And Cinderella Man is one of those genuine masterpiece works from Ron Howard. Incredible filmmaker, great storyteller, always finds the sentimental core of the stories he tells, and I think that's what makes Ron Howard a phenomenal filmmaker. I had a few people agree with me, loving those comedy classics. Luke, there's a reason we got on so well, mate, is because we both love Adam Sandler films, among many other things. But yeah, Happy Gilmore, easy watch, makes you laugh, gives you good vibes. That's all good. And we had a few more from our gentleman folk, which was, we bought a zoo. Pete, that kind of surprises me a little bit. We bought a zoo. I think I might need to go and watch that because we're into similar films, and I mean it's got Matt Damon and ScarJo in it, so it can't be that bad. It's Cameron Crowe films, so it's going to be relatively well made, but I mean, is that a bit of a guilty pleasure? Comfort watch there, Pete? We hit on something that I thought other people were going to hit on with that. My friend Matt, who used to be my housemate years ago in Chester. Hi, Matt. Thanks for writing in, mate. Obviously watches Back to the Future, because everybody watches Back to the Future to make them feel good. If you don't, then you should start, because it's a great film. Great set of films with great people in it. And we've all got to appreciate how brilliantly amazing Michael J. Fox is and was, because we don't get to see him enough anymore because of everything that happened to him in his life. So if you haven't introduced yourself to Back to the Future, or you don't quite appreciate how amazing Back to the Future is, go back and watch it. Just give it another watch, give it another go, because it's so worth it. It's so good. They're just classics, brilliant films. But he touched on something that I thought more people were going to touch on. A lot of people and a lot of you ladies, I thought we were going to get some of those animated classics. Does nobody watch Disney films to make themselves feel better anymore? Like, I know I haven't probably done this for a couple of years, but, well, actually, no, because me and Carol did it the other night. We watched Ralph Breaks the Internet to make ourselves feel better, and it was great. And Matt told me that he watches Emperor's New Groove, which is amazing. Well, it's not. It's not amazing. It's not great, because I don't like the lead character, and the supporting character's a bit soft, but the bad guys are just the best. Yzma and Krunk are just awesome. So Emperor's New Groove has got a special place in my heart always. And Megamind, I was actually talking about this to Carol the other day, is one of my favourite films ever. I think I've probably watched Megamind more than any other film I've ever watched, because when I was working on the ships, on one of the contracts, it was just constantly on every single day. And if nothing else was on the TV, I'd always just go back and watch Megamind, because it's a great film, it's really funny, and it's really easy to watch. And since then, like, I don't watch it as much anymore, because I probably can quote it word for word on the script now. But it's just brilliant. So yeah, I was quite surprised that we didn't get more animated classics, some of those Disney ones in there, like, I don't know, Little Mermaid or Lion King or Snow White or something to make you feel better. But I guess you've got Grey's Anatomy and Gilmore Girls, so you just don't need those Disney movies. Are those Disney movies what everybody watches when they're happy? Because I think I watch Disney movies to make me, I don't know, feel young again and give me a little bit of joy when I need it. Give me a little pick-me-up when I need it. But yeah, so thanks very much for everybody sort of writing in on that. And I really do appreciate everything that everybody did to write into us. Thank you very much. As I said, it is a bit of a shorter episode. We don't have anything on our plate because we're both too ill to make fancy food and take pictures. So we've literally just been making quick things and eating what we can and then going home, going to sleep. And that's about it, really. And I don't think we've been doing anything else. So thank you very much for listening. I really do appreciate everybody who wrote in. One more thing that I do want to say is that we now have hit 200 likes on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for that, everybody. We really appreciate it. Megan, who used to be Carol's roommate when me and Carol first met, was our 200th liker. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And we've got a goal, and we want you to help us out with this. So me and Carol would love somebody, and we haven't had it yet, but we'd love somebody to subscribe or like our Facebook page who we don't know. So if you've got friends out there, and if you do enjoy listening to the podcast, and we do get people writing in now, we really, really appreciate it. Go and tell your friends. Go and tell somebody who doesn't know us to have a listen to the podcast, because we'd love for somebody that we don't know to like it. That's our goal for the next, well, for the rest of this year. If we can get somebody who we don't know to like the podcast before the end of 2019, we'd really appreciate it, and you guys can help us make that happen. So please help me with our mission and go and tell your friends to have a listen. You can't be like, oh, you have to like that page, but just say, have listened to the podcast, and hopefully they'll just do the rest from there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back with you with our regular scheduled listening as of next week. But for now, thank you for everything. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye!